Hello everyone. This is Tobi from the Phuket Meditation Center, and you're listening to the Dharana Meditation Podcast. Let's sit together, calm the busy mind, and explore topics concerning character development, meditative training, and deeper self-knowledge.
So we start by sitting upright, suspend the head from above. Let your body be relaxed at ease. Let the breathing be comfortable, peaceful. And allow the body, the mind to simply be as they are right now. Nothing to change, nothing to fix or manage. Whatever there is, let it be just like this. Just sitting still, breathing comfortably. Just that. Let your consciousness, your awareness spread out inside of your body, feeling the body as you breathe in, and noticing as everything in the body begins to release, to soften as you breathe out. Naturally, without any effort, it's just something that happens when we breathe out. Breathing in, feeling the body, breathing out, softening. You could think of one breath as one session of meditation. Breathing in, feeling, breathing out, softening, releasing. Once everything has settled down, the nervous system is calm, the body is calm, and the mind has significantly slowed down its pace. Just rest in your presence. Nothing to add, nothing to take away from this moment, nothing to manage. Simply knowing what is happening while it is happening in real time. Knowing how your attention moves from sense to sense, from sound to sight to feeling to thinking. Just naturally moving like this. We're not controlling the attention in any way, simply just allowing it to be the way it is. Just knowing what is going on in this moment. Hearing, feeling, thinking, seeing. Where is my attention right now? Right this second. If you like, you can also pick one particular sense that you enjoy, like the sound of the rain, just listening to it. Coming to your senses, becoming present, same thing. Especially knowing thinking as thinking. Just like any other sense like sound, like feeling. Thoughts arise, change, pass, constantly moving. So you have the same interest in your thoughts, in the mental stuff, than you have in sound or in sensations of your body. To know them for what they are, not to know them for their content. It is not relevant what you are thinking of. We simply know that there is thinking. And out of that presence, that calm, we keep the breath in mind. Breathing in, knowing that you're breathing in. Breathing out, knowing that you're breathing out. And every time the attention goes somewhere else and you notice, gently come back. No matter what happens, just stubbornly coming back to the breath. Being centered in your breathing. Allow everything else to fade into the background. And while keeping the breath in mind very gently, you can slowly come back, open your eyes, gently stretch a bit. All right, so good morning, everyone. So today's topic is trust, because it's such a central topic on the spiritual path, and it's a central topic, I believe, for any living being anyways. The question is, what can I rely on? What can I trust? All the dramas of the world, they usually unfold based on trust being somehow betrayed. Pacts that we might have between two countries being broken, and so on and so forth. People usually hate it when they're being lied to, when they're being deceived in some way, but that's kind of what life does all the time. It deceives us. It gives you a sense of safety, security, makes you feel like this is good or this is bad, only for it to turn and change later on. So good becomes bad, bad becomes good again, and so on, so on. I mean, just look at your own life. You'll see that confirmed. How many times in the last 24 hours has your emotional state changed? How many times has your mental state changed? How many times has your physical state changed? How about your location? Has your location changed in the last 24 hours? Even if you spent only time in a single room, has your position of your body changed at all? Even just during the past 30 minutes, little meditation practice, has your body changed? Even for those of you who are already a bit more advanced and move less, notice small movements, small acts of keeping the balance or releasing and so on. So life is, it's exactly that. It's change. Everything is constantly changing, constantly evolving. That's why some of the great masters, they would point out that things are not sure, meaning things are not reliable, because they can constantly change. So that, for example, we tell people, promise me that you will love me till the end of days. In the hopes that the promise gives them the sense of security that they want. But is it satisfying? Even if I promise, can you be sure? You can't, right? So then people begin to test and check. Check the phones of their partners. Is he really doing what he said he does? People don't trust. Even your own insurance, you cannot trust. They say they'll be there for you. Nice adverts, how they protect you and save you as you're climbing the rock wall and you fall down and break your leg, and suddenly they're there and looking after you. Is it really like that? Can you trust your insurance? Can you even trust your own parents? Heck, can you even trust yourself? How many times have you said that you're going to do something and then you didn't? Tomorrow I'll wake up at 5 a.m. and I hit the gym. Or tomorrow I'll wake up and I'm going to do my meditation practice. It's going to be awesome. And morning comes in, it rains outside, and you're like, let me start next Monday. Or you have a headache, and because you have a headache, you say, well, I have a headache today, so I don't go to the gym. Life is exactly like that. It's unreliable. Your health, is it reliable? Will you stay healthy and fit? Can you be certain that you will not get any cancer or any other diseases that will kill you or take your mental power away from you or your physical power in some way? You're young. You think that's a safety and a guarantee? Nothing is sure. This is very unsettling for the mind. So what the mind does is it constantly tries to find things that it can latch onto and feel a sense of stability and security. I can latch onto this body and I feel I am this and that person with this and that past. And that gives me a sense of stability, at least a little bit, at least enough for me to feel kind of calm most of the time. But when this little sense of stability cracks even a bit sometimes, then I get really upset. I get afraid. I worry. Can't sleep. So things are not sure, things are not stable, things are not reliable. Therefore, what happens to you is not important. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is what you do, yes, but not what is happening. Because what is happening is just endless. Now this happens, then that, then another thing, then another thing. Then health, then disease, then an accident, then a healing, then communion, then separation. Then happy, then sad. Normal. There's lots of little wisdom stories around that. One of them is the horse farmer with his horse, good, bad, who knows? I've told that story so many times. Google it. Just Google good, bad, who knows? Horse farmer. Read the story. It's a story about things changing constantly and people making something out of that change that it is not. Really fortunate circumstance happens. Everyone says, wow, you're so lucky. This is so good. Then that really fortunate circumstance turns out to be really bad. So everyone comes and says, oh my God, this is so bad. Who would have thought? I never saw that coming. Only to turn back into something amazing. No one would have expected it. Wow, this is great. Who would have thought? Only to turn back into something horrible again. And so on and so forth. There's no end to that. Is there? Look at your life. Do you have any hopes that life is going to give you the great thing and then it's going to stay great for all eternity? Just look at the evidence, right? The evidence, the facts, they're right in front of our face. Nothing stays the way it is. Everything changes, everything moves. So unsettling. Gives us a lot of background anxiety, background fear. And out of this background fear and anxiety, we try to cope and we try to manage all the time, trying to maintain some sort of stability in all that. And that would indicate that we all desire safety. We all want to be sure. We want to be safe. And in order to be safe, you need to trust the right things. There are a couple of things that are worthy of trust, that we should trust, particularly if you want to be happy, if you want to be safe, if you want to be at ease. There is a whole set of things that are trustworthy, but there's also a whole set of things that is not trustworthy. Are people around you trustworthy? Until you find out they're not, right? Can you really trust them? Do they have your best at heart? Do you have other people's best at heart most of the time, or your own? How would it be with others? Are you yourself, are you stable? Are you fully reliable? Well, then look at others. They too are not. Have you broken promises to yourself and others? Well, so can others, right? So are others really ultimately trustworthy? Of course, no. Of course not. Things change. They might even have really good intention, but they just can't do it because they are stuck with something. So they can't be there for you. They can't help in that particular moment when you need them the most. They're kept by something, stuck. Even though they had good intentions, even though they wanted to be there for you, they can't. So it's not really reliable. Other people are not really reliable. I'm not saying they are not reliable at all, always. Of course, we need to trust our friends and our family, and we have our tiny group of people around us that are indeed more trustworthy than others. We do have communities that thrive on that limited type of trust, and that's important. I'm not negating that. I'm not saying that there's absolutely nothing we can trust. There are things we can trust, but they are not really outside of ourselves. The one thing we can trust, that we can fully rely on, would have to be something that never changes, that always remains the same. If any of you in this room were to state right now, I am, would that be true? If you were to say, I am, is that a true statement?
Yes.
Yes. How about you, Hannah? If you said, I am, would that be true? Yeah. Okay. Not so much the words, but what it points to. That we are here right now, right? Now, if you were to interview every single inhabitant on this earth in their own language, and you were to ask them that question, are you? And they would answer, I am. Would that apply to each one of us? Doesn't matter your background, your religion, your gender, whatever. Everyone would state equally, yes, I am. I exist. I'm here. Yes? So that is quite truthful. Just a little side note, I always like to say that because God's name in the Bible, as I mentioned, is what? It's I am, right? God introduces himself as I am that I am. And then they also say there is only one God. Isn't that interesting? We all say the same exact thing, I am. It's just only we add a whole bunch of nonsense afterwards. But if we just stayed with that simple I am, that is something that we can trust. Your presence, your being. That is something trustworthy because it does not ever change. Your presence is always your presence. And when it comes to things and observing things, then there's also something that we can trust. Mainly, that things are things. That is something trustworthy. Doesn't matter. Whenever you say that, you can say that. It is like this, and it is correct. For example, if you're angry, you're watching that anger, and you make that statement of truth. Anger is like this. Would that be correct? Correct statement? Anger is... Come again?
There's a perception of reality, like the differences, perception of reality.
Okay.
So the definition of anger may vary from one person to another.
Yes. Hence, I keep it simple and I just say it is like this. I'm not saying how it is. I'm simply saying anger is like this. I'm not making any quality statement. Anger is good, anger is bad. That be perception. I simply say it is like this. Similarly with fear, fear is like this. Thinking, does it thinking exist? Are there thoughts? Without any value judgment. There are thoughts. Is that a truthful statement? Can we trust that statement? How about thinking is like this? Now, can you trust a statement if I said, thinking is bad? Is that trustworthy? No, because some experts will come out of the woodworks and say, no, thinking is very good. And then other experts will come out and say, no, we have now discovered that thinking is actually really bad. And then 10 years later, they come out, oh, actually thinking is good partially, and then it's bad partially. And so on and so forth. Butter is really healthy. 10 years later, butter is the worst. 10 years later, butter is actually really good for you. So what is it? Is it good? Is it bad? Very funny adverts in the 40s, 50s, I think. They would recommend smoking. The cigarette brand that your doctor smokes. It's hilarious. Watch it like the old ads where they would recommend smoking. It's really good for you, and that your doctor is smoking this and that brand. Therefore, you should also smoke. Yeah. So all those things are not sure anymore, but the fact that there is thinking, that's a truth. That's an undeniable truth. Thinking is there. And that it is like this too, that's true. And emotions also, they are like this. How are they? Well, have a look. And then if you say they are like this, then you would be right. That is something to trust. What does that all point to? Well, it points to awareness. What is it that can make a statement such as thinking is like this? Well, that would be awareness, if awareness could talk. It would say thinking is there, it's like this. It is changing, it is moving, it exists, it arises and it passes, it follows its own nature. Like if the sky could speak, it would speak about the weather, that the weather is like this. It arises and changes, and sometimes there are clouds, then they're gone again, and so on. The sky itself has no issue with any of it. So that is something we can trust, because it doesn't change with things. But things are not trustworthy because they change. So there is elements of you, of your being, that are worthy of trust. Worthy means what? That if you trust them, it gives you what you actually want, which is an end of suffering and happiness. That's where we can find what we're really looking for, which is happiness, joy, aliveness, vitality. That resides exactly in that knowing quality. It doesn't reside in what is known. It is not in the objects. It is in the subject. It is in the I am. It is in yourself, in your deepest heart of hearts. And yet this is the only place we usually never rely on, right? We don't rely on ourselves. Even on the most superficial levels, it's hard to really rely on ourselves, because if you were to rely on yourself in life, what would that imply? Forget all the spiritual stuff, all the deep stuff, just basic self-reliance. What would that mean? Well, first of all, it would mean that you are capable of building shelter, making fire, getting water, and getting food. So on the most basic level, you are able to survive. Are you? If electricity shuts down, if the internet connection is gone, let's say that stays like this for a month or 2 months, what would happen to the world? It'd be pretty bad. And we all sense that, we all know that. We would not be able to look after ourselves, actually, at all. We don't even know the most basic skills to survive, let alone higher skills. So we would not be able to build an amazing society from scratch because we just simply lack the skills. We can't even care for ourselves properly. All the care that we are currently giving to ourselves comes from others. The products that you use to care for your skin or something like that, who made them? Who came up with those ideas? Who came up with, even if those are medical herbal products, who came up with those medical formulas? Who got to know this? Was that me? No. Your clothes, the clothes you're wearing, the money that you're spending, who gave that to you? The skill that you use to earn that money, where did that come from? Etc., etc. So most of the things that we have right now, they are not coming from self-reliance, they come from relying on others and their skills and their things and so on. So much for necessary trust. That's why we need to trust one another. Because our survival depends on it. If you were to be completely isolated on your own, we wouldn't survive. Not long. It's hard to make it. You'd have to be fit, you'd have to be capable, you'd have to be clever. All those things, and those things need to be learned. They need to be trained, particularly, and we don't learn them if we're comfortable. We only learn them if we're subjected to controlled discomfort over and over again. Then we might learn those skills, and then we would be safe if things go bad. Then you could rely on yourself. So self-reliance here in the worldly sense, not the spiritual one, means that you have skills that are worthy of trust, that you can trust in, so you can govern yourself and others by that as an extension. If you can govern yourself, yes, you can govern others as well. Most of us are not even able to govern ourselves. What about your emotions? What about your reactivity to life? Impulsivity, and so on and so forth. All these things that get you into trouble, they would have to be brought under control. You'd have to learn to be patient. You'd have to learn to stop complaining. You'd have to learn to... So many skills that are necessary for survival. It's really interesting. I like to watch those survival shows, actually. And in those shows, that becomes very apparent. The people that don't make it. The people who are super emotional, who they can't keep their stuff together. They're falling apart. The moment they have to trust themselves and rely on themselves, they just fall apart. They can't do it. Their life is just moaning, complaining, bitching around all the time until they give up. You can already see it in the beginning. Who is likely to fail this challenge? Who is likely to make it? You can see who is skilled and who is not. Just from physical movements, expression, facial expression, the mode of conduct, how people behave, how they present themselves, can give away a lot. And if somebody has skill, they have a natural confidence. There is no boasting, there is no need to show off at all. Whereas people oftentimes that don't have any skills need a lot of boasting, a lot of pretending. Another thing for you to Google, check out Dunning-Kruger effect. If you haven't heard about it, it's very interesting. Is that they found out that most people who would rate their level of skill closer to a 10, meaning very skilled, if I rate myself very highly, the chances that my skill is very low are really great. And those who have really high skills, they would persistently rate themselves very low, actually. That's a Dunning-Kruger effect in essence. So when someone comes in and says, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I can do this, I can do everything, it's very often a hallmark that this person has no skill. That's why they are very loud. To compensate. So having just basic skills is something that is worthy of trust. But beyond skill, beyond the doing, what can I trust? Well, the answer would be your being. And this, of course, that's the spiritual realm. That is something that we hardly ever consider or look at throughout our entire lifetime, because we're so caught up with objects and things all the time that the being itself goes unnoticed, sometimes for an entire lifetime. Never once do we actually realize, wow, I am. There is life. And then most people realize that only when it's too late, when their life is already fading, that's when they suddenly wake up and go like, wow, I'm losing the thing that I never noticed. But now I notice it because I'm losing it. I'm about to lose it. So to trust in life itself, in beingness itself, that is what the spiritual path is pointing to. To trust in skill and conduct, that is what the worldly path points to. So this is for today, I think, enough, all that comes to mind.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and had a meaningful time. For more information and upcoming events, head over to our website at phuket-meditation.com. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.